This is another episode of Standup Comedy, your host and MC, celebrating 40-plus years on the fringe of show business. Stories, interviews, and comedy sets from the famous and not so famous. Here's your host and MC, Scott Edwards.
Hey everybody, welcome to a special April Fool's Day podcast from Standup Comedy, your host and MC. Hey, we're going to do something kind of wild and different and bring you somebody else's podcast. That's right. A good friend of mine, Mike Montague, has a terrific podcast. I'm not only a listener, I've been a guest on the show. It's always a lot of fun. It's called the Playful Humans Podcast. And what we're doing is I'm going to share his entire show with my audience so you get a chance to be entertained and educated from a different point of view. But it's all still about comedy. In fact, Mike has a terrific guest. He's from England, Adam Hunt. He is the creative director for White Label Comedy, and his agency adds humor to social media ads, regular TV and radio ads, and it's a terrific company. He's a great guy with some great information to share, and Mike does a good job in the interview. So, ladies and gentlemen, here's something totally different for April Fool's Day. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Mike Montague and Playful Humans Podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome to another Playful Humans podcast. I'm your host, Mike Montague, and my guest this week is Adam Hunt, creative director at White Label Comedy. They are a creative agency powered by TV's top comedy writers. You can find them at whitelabelcomedy.com. Adam is also a former TV producer. He was one of the Big Brothers that had to watch the Big Brother contestants sleep at night and all of the stuff behind the scenes to make sure they got the good stuff for the show. So we'll talk more about that as well. And they created a game. It's a really cool social media game where you can create your own memes for your brand. It's called Brands Against Mundanity. I've used it. It's super cool. All of that and more coming up. Here we go. Again, you can find Playful Humans at playfulhumans.com, and there's a quiz there. If you go to playfulhumans.com/quiz, you can find out which playful personality you are. But we like to start with the joke of the week. And this is for you, Adam. I decided to come up with some interesting ones here for you. The joke of the week is brought to you by statistics. 69% of people can find something dirty in every sentence. Statistics. Okay, here's the joke. Why didn't the toilet paper cross the road? It got stuck in a crack.
Very nice. Very nice.
I guess I should have said loo roll for you. You're in the.
Do you know what? We understand the reference. Don't worry. We toilet paper. It can cross the Atlantic. We're fine.
All right. Good. Sounds good. So I guess let's start with White Label Comedy because it's a really cool concept. You basically write jokes for brands and help people be more creative in their social media or create, memes or funny bits to post on social media to help them get attention. How did you get into that?
Yeah, I mean, good question. And I'll try and give you the answer that isn't 6 weeks long. Like the long and the short of it is I used to be a TV producer and in that world worked with lots of comedy writers when I was lucky and on fun shows. I also moonlighted, working for brands, writing social posts and, doing a bit of brand strategy and writing scripts for adverts. And like over on the branded content side, loads of my clients were like leaning on me for the funny stuff. And I was like, I'm not a comedy writer. I'm just this plucky writer. And I knew from my time in TV that like the proper bona fide comedy writers could just churn out funny as anything stuff way quicker than I could. I was like, let's try and smash these together because I think a big thing that I've always insisted, and I think this will ring true with a lot of your listeners, and it's that when you work in a supposedly creative field, TV is a creative field. In theory, I should have been really grateful to have a job as a TV producer. It was, and for a time I was, but you sacrifice so much to climb up that greasy ladder to get what, like 85% of the way there. And then you go, oh, well, this is probably fine. Like, no, it's not fine. It's not good enough. This is not what I want to be doing. You know, and it loses its shine. And I think it loses its shine because it's no longer requiring your creativity because you're too good at it. You know, it's become second nature. And so you need a new challenge. And I think I wanted to build a world that could let me do the work that I wanted to do. And I knew for a fact that the only way to do that was to build the company around the work I wanted to make so that, you know, we attract people to us rather than me pitching what I want to do to a brand and then going, oh no, should we just do the boring thing? So yeah, that's why.
Man, there's so much there to unpack these days. That's exactly what this show is about. I did the same thing in radio where I worked up and got my own radio show on the top 40 station here in Kansas City. And it's a pretty big market. Like you said, that's about 85% of the way up the ladder. And the pay was terrible. The hours were terrible. Somebody else wrote everything that I had to say. There was like maybe 30 seconds an hour where I got to do something creative. The rest of the time it's reading weather and traffic and sponsors and the promotion of the you know, week or month. And there was no creativity left in it. And the time that it was very formulaic, which I want to talk to you about as well, because I found that people sometimes think that television or radio is creative, but it's actually not, because there's a very programmed script and process that you follow every single time. So I think even sometimes those writers that write jokes, and this goes back to the benefits of what you do with your game too. So I don't mean to disparage this, but it can become boring because you're like, okay, joke, insert celebrity name here, insert, you know, pun about their looks or something here. And you're not really creating new jokes anymore. You're just recycling the same like tropes and memes that other people have used. Did you find that as well?
Do you know what I mean? From TV, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think, you know, if you watch, you know, any of the American late night talk shows, the opening monologue, it's during COVID when they took away the audience and they couldn't fake a laughter track because we'd know it was fake because there's no audience. It's really, when you see the jokes in their truest naked form, and it's not, you know, they're so awkwardly crowbarred. But you know, and the same is true for, like, even ignoring jokes, just TV shows. Like a lot of the shows I worked on were very ideas hungry, and you can really easily make a boring show, an awful show, and people go, "Oh, great, well done." And it's like, no, that, you know, I'm not pleased with that. But you can also make a great show, and you know, it's kind of on you to push the boundaries. And I guess, you know, I've had a couple of TV jobs in my career where I was allowed to push the boundaries within certain confines, and they were the best. And I've had other jobs where I was just a cog in a machine, having to help churn out formulaic, trite nonsense. Big Brother. I will never work there again. I might, but I probably won't. But you know, there's a real difference. There is a way to do it well and a way to do it badly. And I think you know, yeah, it's kind of on you to build a world that you can be your most creative self in. But I'm going to, I'll probably talk about modeling forever, but I think really, as you'll know, creativity isn't, we're not really making new ideas. We you know, you're taking this and that and combining it. That's the same way you write a joke. So you can even be creative lazily if you forget to up your game. I'll get off my soapbox.
No, you nailed it. Exactly. That's where I was going. I think maybe it was my fault. And maybe, you know, after a year of late night radio, it was just like, okay, I'm going to do the top 5 songs again. And here's a joke about Britney Spears and Justin Timberlake or whatever, or Bennifer, you know, whatever the thing of the day is. And maybe I got lazy and I stopped innovating and getting creative there. And I see that a lot, even in creative professions, whether it's graphic design or whatever. All your customers start asking you for the same sign. Like I did graphic design for a while, and they're like, we want a bright yellow sign with big black letters so you can see it from space. And you're like, okay, well, I'm in a creative job here, but I'm not doing anything creative at all if I don't push myself. So I think that's a really great lesson you just shared for us. And it does tie back to your game and what you guys do with White Label Comedy is inspiring people again to go after it, to go do something creative and fun. And that's what I'm trying to do with this podcast is don't just settle for a lame joke or a lame social media post like, hey, buy from me. I got a new product. It's Black Friday or Cyber Monday. Here's a sale. Like we can do better than that if we try.
Yeah, I mean, we can do so much better, but also, see, it's not just about doing better. It's about, and also, it's not just about the pursuit of creativity for the individual. The truth is, for a business, those, buy, sell, here's my offer, here's my voucher code, let me send you my lead magnet. Like all of those social posts, no one wants to consume them. So they're actually, you're wasting your time creating them and putting them out there, getting crickets, and no one cares. And if you want to, you might as well just turn off your social feeds. Honestly, there's no point. Mm-hmm. Instead, what comedy on social allows a brand to do or a small business to do is enter the conversation that's going on in their ideal customer's mind and be a part of that conversation. And actually, we do it with comedy because we can and it's fun. But the most important thing is relatability. The most important thing is stop selling on social and just be relatable and show your audience that you are where they are, because that's how you get them to respond. And when they've responded, you say, for instance, if you write jokes that are about, if you sell shovels, right, and you write jokes that are about problems you have while digging holes, and someone likes that post, you're like, all right, interesting. This guy knows how to dig a hole, but he's struggling with the shovel he's got. I'm gonna serve him some ads and try and sell him a shovel. And you're qualifying them as a potential buyer. You're getting them to think about you before you said, hey, here's a voucher code, so they're not batting you out the way. It's just common sense. It's comedy is just a great way to do it. But relating to an audience is what brands mostly forget to do, I would say.
Yeah, it's amazing to me, I think, because there are certain just ironic processes about life, right? That, if you try to fall asleep, you're less likely to do so. If you try to make somebody fall in love with you, it's less likely that it happens, right? And I think social media kind of happens the same way. The more you try to get attention, the less you kind of get, right? The more you try to be authentic, a lot of times, the less genuine and authentic people are. But there is a way to be relatable, like you said, to be funny and be social, and then let the rest of it take care of itself. If you post that message that says, hey, buy from me, and one person clicks on it, it's not going anywhere. If you make that funny video or that interesting meme or that joke that 1,000 people click and share, somebody is going to look at what you did or who wrote that post, and their attraction to you is going to be 10 times higher than somebody that was desperately looking to buy whatever you had at the moment. Right.
Yeah. 100%.
Or those people are still going to find you. Right. So if you're a hole digger and they go, wow, that's the funniest hole digging joke I've ever heard, they're going to find out, oh, this guy sells shovels. If they need a shovel, if they don't, they're going to ignore it anyway. So you might as well attract a wider audience and be relatable with people and have a conversation.
Yeah, you're the one that they think of because you were the fun guy. You weren't Target. You were Benny's Shovels, and Benny's Shovels is fun. And it's that kind of human connection, which I realize we're stepping away a bit from creativity, but I think it's human connection is everything. And actually, I agree that authenticity is important, but you need to plan your authenticity carefully. You need to,
Right.
you need to begin with what matters to the people you're trying to authentically engage, and then reverse engineer your authentic content so that it chimes with what really matters to them. Because what matters to you is irrelevant. What matters to them is key. If you can be authentic with their truths, then you're onto a winner. So it's not just about grabbing your phone and saying, oh, hey guys, I'm just here, and freestyling it. You still need to create something clever and pre-planned.
Yeah, and I think we can get back to creativity and playfulness here in a second, but I got one more question for you about this, because when I bought your product, Brands Against Mundanity, so I could write more jokes for Playful Humans and create more interesting content, I found it really interesting that there are these sort of frameworks and ideas that there are reasons why some jokes are offensive and don't work. And there are reasons why some are relatable and do work. And there are certain frameworks and things that make it easier to be creative, that you don't have to just out of nowhere sitting at your desk write the funniest thing you've ever had, that you need inputs, you need to combine things, and you need to find things that are relatable first and then make them funny, I think is what I got from you. Are there other tips or common mistakes you see people or brands make when they're trying to be funny?
I think, you know what, a few things there we can unpack kind of one by one. I think, the most important thing for me when it comes to writing jokes is training your brain to understand what a joke is. A joke isn't this funny observation or this funny bit. A joke is two things that are meant to fit together, like two things that you've made fit together. The two separate ideas, and you've kind of joined them with a little gap for our brain to jump in the middle, and that when our brains jump that gap, we spark a little bit of joy. Often, wordplay is the easiest way to do that, but there are other clever ways to do it. It's just thing A and thing B and a clever twist in between. That's like just the right kind of twist. That's all a joke is. And the frameworks we've got in Brands Against Mundanity, my favorite thing about them is people start by using them and go, oh, interesting. That's a joke about supermarket checkouts. I'm going to write that exact joke, but I'm going to sub in the thing my audience cares about into the gap. And then they come back a couple of weeks later and they have another go. They're like, oh, interesting. Actually, do you know what? That joke there, or that format there, that framework with the supermarket checkout joke, actually, I know my audience cares loads about these. I'm being really, really, vague, but these gloves. And they go, oh, but that wouldn't work with. And you start to realize that you literally just need a way to compare this with that and build that gap, and you start to move away from the frameworks, move away from the formats, and all of a sudden you're writing jokes. And that's the magic of it for me, is that we accidentally, we started by trying to sell templates you could use to write specific jokes. And I'd say, the savviest half of our buyers see the matrix and go, all right, I get it now. I can write anything. So that's great. When it comes to, common mistakes, the most common mistake for any brand, I see it all the time, is they just try and be funny. Like they are just making a joke. Like Snickers, I get really annoyed with the UK Snickers account because they post the jokes they post have nothing to do with chocolate, their audience, what their audience cares about. There's this one. I don't. For this to be funny, you'll need to understand something about Wales and Welsh place names. Let's just say that they are.
Oh yeah, I heard that
long
one.
And full of syllables. So the tweet was
too many consonants.
The tweet was a thread, Welsh place name, or someone sat on a keyboard. And I find that funny. But my uncle, who lives in Llanfire, Pwthgwyngygorig, Windrobber, Llantysilio, go, he's not such a fan. It's and right. Snickers wants to sell to those people. So if you don't know where to find the ingredients for jokes and you just start trying to be funny, you're going to divide the room, you're going to offend one group to try and impress another group, and it all comes tumbling down. And I think what we try and teach is that by just looking at the fears, pains, desires, and buying motivations, all the typical marketing speak, all the things that matter to your customer in the context of what you offer them, you can find enough relatable truths to write jokes without going anywhere near, politics, religion,
right?
A rubbish joke about veganism. You can do better than that. And actually, when you use those truths, your ideal customer, for whom those truths really matter, will find the joke funnier. Whether or not we like a joke is more about the truth in the joke and less about how clever the joke was. It's not so much about the comparison. It is, do I agree with that joke? And if I do, I love it. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah. And I think that'll take us into the playfulness part of it too. I would add two things to that. Number one, if all of that sounds way too complicated and you're worried about making a bad joke, go to whitelabelcomedy.com. Shameless plug. Adam and his team will do it for you, and they'll figure out something that's safe and fun and relatable for your audience. Second thing that came to mind for me is the joke should evoke a positive emotion, right? So for people outside of Wales, that joke might have been funny and it joked a positive response because we've all had a cat walk across the keyboard or sat on the keyboard. But if you're in Wales, that joke creates a negative perception. It's not funny. It's not a laugh if it makes you feel bad, even if the joke is surprising or unexpected with that twist. And I find that a lot of times play and games and comedy and even creativity, people forget that the point of it is to keep the conversation going, to make people feel like they're playing along and included, not excluded, right? If you make fun of someone, you're a bully. If you have fun with someone, you're attracting your ideal clients. And I think that's what, to me, is interesting about playfulness and comedy and business, because I've interviewed now close to 100 people that play for a living. And it's more powerful. Like, you have 33% more sales. You have a lot more fun. You get less turnover. You have better, employees. And then that creates better work and it attracts more. And I think that's what comedy and creativity and playfulness all have in common. Have you found that in your career too, that just sometimes the culture can create the right atmosphere that's attracting people there, and it doesn't need to be specifically about the joke or anything?
Do you know what? There's a lot to unpack there, and there's a few different questions that I could answer. I think, in terms of just comedy and inclusiveness, I fully agree. I think, it's a joke. The phrase we use is share and declare. Like, would our ideal audience want to take this joke and go, this represents me, I'm going to pass it on. I'm going to pass it around. Like, would they want to be part of that conversation? And if that's not the case, it's not a joke that we want to, give to our clients. And that's huge. But I think, separately, just talking about business and attracting the right people and the creative process in general, the sort of people that you enjoy creating with are the ones that yes and everything, that rather than no but. It's building on other people's ideas is killer, and it's a way to make people feel a part of it. And I guess, when you're writing a joke that someone else wants to share, they are, you're letting them say yes and. Now, sometimes they're just saying yes and, same joke, but they're still carrying it on. And the best ones, you'll have a certain savvy segment of any audience that are like yes and they will one up you, and they will carry on the joke with their own twist. Or you get brands interacting with each other and they are yes anding each other, with an extra layer and an extra thought. And whenever you've got some brands that think it is funny to go at each other, like Wendy's and McDonald's and, Burger King, that sort of triad of, and actually that stuff fizzles out really quickly because they are shooting each other down. And then there's not really anything else to say. Like, you don't need to do that. There's no benefit to doing that. And the conversation ends and, and scene.
Well, there's no dislike button on social media, right? So if the dislikes amplified that post, it might keep going somewhere, but especially on social media. But I would say even in life, the positive stuff gets carried on. The negative stuff fizzles out because nobody wants to spread the negativity. But that's the reason why there's not a dislike button. So especially on social media, I think you have to make jokes that people want to like and share, right? They might relate to it, but if they don't like it, then they're not going to share it. They're not going to pass that on. It's got to be something that they're proud of, right? That's
actually, there's a great example as to how important that is from some client work we did for an adult entertainment company. And the challenge with adult entertainment, porn, as we call it over here, is what someone wants to consume and what someone will happily share and declare as their own thing is like there's two different worlds. And so, the content that this company had on its socials when we first came along was just clips of porn. And all right, if someone lands up here, they might have a look. They might have a free trial on their hands, should we say, but they're never going to share it. So what the challenge for us was, you still need the porn on the profile. You still need it to be there to reel them in because that's what they're there for. But you also need to intersperse it with safer jokes that you still need to be a sex positive person. You still need to be, not only a certain person would be comfortable sharing it, but you need to make jokes that people want to say, yeah, this is me. I get, yes, I like porn and what, and here, here's my world, and not have it attached to a 30-second video of someone getting railed. That's the, otherwise, no one's going to share it, and no one's going to, you just need to think, right, what motivates people to share this? How can I put, in my creative process, how can I put what drives them into this piece of content? And that's what all day, every day is about for me, is just working out what's going to make people care enough to share something.
That's awesome. Now I want to talk about you specifically here. A couple of last questions I like to ask everybody. Did you learn this the hard way? Did you ever, was TV your real job there? Or did you ever have feel like, oh, I'm just going to burn out? Or was that your corporate ladder and you were able to pivot out of that? And, or anything else we need to know about your career of how you got here? Because I think sometimes people are afraid to take that leap. They're like, well, I'm an insurance agent or, an admin. I can't, go start writing comedy for a living all of a sudden. But I don't know that that's true. So what advice would you give for somebody that maybe wants to have a fun career, wants to be more playful, but they're worried about holding back?
I think so. For me, like TV was my world. It was for 10, 15 years. That was everything I did. I think because every job is freelance in TV, you've got a very short-term mentality. And what that also means is you don't actually have to leave TV to do something else. You just don't take another job for a minute. So, when I first launched the company, I didn't leave TV. Actually, truth be told, I was at the BBC just pretending to make a TV show while busily running a company because you can. But, even if I hadn't been that naughty, you had the luxury of going, right, I've got a bit of money in the bank. I'm going to give myself 3 months, see if we can make a profit from this. Because I guess the other thing is for me, obviously I was trying to build something that could make money from my creativity. But even just looking at, because I can't overlook the fact that people would think, well, I just want to work in TV. That's my goal. And I think whatever your goal, it's always easier than you think. It's, once you get that leg in, it's just about clawing away up. It's. I'm sure you'll feel the same. You end up presenting a big time, well-known radio show because you put the graft in over time, but you're never going to walk in straight in that door.
Right. That's what I always say too. Nobody's handing out shows to people that have never done it before. So for me, especially for young people, if you're going to spend 10 years building your career, build one around something you like to do. Don't waste 10 years building something for somebody else that you don't like doing, right? So I feel like it takes time either way. You might as well have something that's fun and playful that you enjoy. Now, what about your bucket list? Is there anything outside of this or a show you would love to make or something you do for fun outside of this that's still on your fun bucket list? Or if you combine those, I have another name for this list.
Do you know what?
For you.
So it's interesting because bit by bit, all of my hobbies and interests got hoovered up by my career. So, I used to be really into comedy, and then I got jobs where I had to go and watch comedy to find new performers for TV shows and stuff. And then, I used to be really into comedy entertainment TV, and then I got jobs in that. And you get drawn into these areas and you lose hobbies and interests. I think I'm really lucky. And, my working world, I've deliberately built this for myself so that I can have fun day in, day out. And that's fucking brilliant. I think so there's a particular show, it's called The Last Leg. Basically, it is a topical comedy. It's just a brilliant topical comedy show over here. And if I had been first in line to produce that, none of this would have happened because I would have just gone, great, this is me. As it happened, I was probably 19th in line. And I think the other 18 would have had to die because they've all made that show, 10 times over. But now, and actually, do you know what? When I first started the work that eventually led to this company, a bit of the reason was I was like, right, okay, I need to increase my comedy credentials. I need to become the guy you'd hire. Yeah. I'm going to do these things. And now I'm like, I wouldn't go anywhere near them. I wouldn't go anywhere near that show because what we're doing now is way bigger, way better, and way more exciting for me. But
I feel that way about playfulness and playful humans too, that I needed more play in my life. I got way too serious and was trying to be, corporate VP and stuff, and not my fun, playful self. And so I think building something for yourself and even writing for yourself is a great way to get started in that too. And I was going to tell you one more thing too. Taskmaster is my favorite show.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like they're having the most fun and being playful on television. But my my Netflix account thought I was British for like 6 months because I watched Broadchurch, Sherlock, and Doctor Who, and then all I got was British shows for 6 months.
The algorithm knows you.
Stuff.
It knows you too well. You're one of us now. You're one of us now.
That's awesome. All right. Well, we like to finish with a game here. So I like to ask everybody, because you can't force anybody to have fun. Do you want to play a game?
Oh, I hate fun. Go on. I'll for you.
Okay, I was going to say you'll be our first one to not say yes, but
to say awesome. No to playing games on the Playful Humans podcast. Yeah, but no.
Exactly. You choose though, so that means you get to make up the game here. Whichever game, improv game or comedy bit or something you want to play. Do you have anything that comes to mind?
Do you know what? Yeah, so there is one game, and actually, this is a game that. A slightly deranged ex-girlfriend of mine taught this to me about 20 years ago, but it's stuck with me since as a game that I always play with any of my teams when we're stuck creatively and we want to like just open up our mind and start coming up with new ideas. So it's called Argentina Turner. And I don't know if you've heard of it. I imagine that Crazy Sam invented it. I'm not sure, but it's something me and my friends play a lot. Super simple, right? The only rule is, well, there are 3 rules. So rule number 1, we go through the alphabet. We're not going to go all the way from A to Z, but we go through the alphabet, naming, basically punning on a country and a famous person of some kind, right? So Argentina Turner. You always start with Argentina Turner. And there are only 2 rules. 1, the letter of the alphabet is the country or the place name. It can be cities. So, I won't name anymore in case I've forgotten any good ones. But so that, and the only other rule
I got it. Yeah.
Is whether or not it's good enough is group consensus. So we both need to agree that you've nailed it. And if you haven't nailed it, you just have to keep awkwardly trying until you get one.
Okay. So let me see if I get, so like B, if we did Belgium, would be like Alexander Graham, Belgium.
That's an all right one. That's an all right one. I think the best ones scan exactly like the name. But yeah, Alexander Graham Belgium is all right.
Okay. So then C, do you have one a country for C?
Oh, do you know what? But by the way, the only other rule, it's self-imposed rule, is that, and it becomes a disability if you have played loads before, which I have, is if I've heard of one before, it comes into my head, I cannot say it. So I have to do brand new every time. All right, let me think. Obviously, all I can think of is 90s footballers, but I'm going to say Dwight Cork, and I'm going to have to let you believe me that Cork is a place in Ireland and Dwight York is a footballer. But that would fly over here. I'm going to say Dwight Cork.
All right, I like this. So then I get D. Let me think of a D. Denmark Hamill.
Great. Top. Yeah, nice.
All right. One more each.
England, Andy Murray. That's one. England, Andy Murray. That's one that I would get shot for trying to wheel out in with my friends. But it's the best I've got for you right now.
All right. So then I got F. I might have to go on front again on this one, but how about Anne Frankfurt?
And Frankfurt's good. My favorite F that always comes to mind, and I have to turn it down, is France Armstrong. Like that's
yeah.
Is, that's the way to play it. Anyway, that's
awesome. Well, I love it. For playing the game, you win yourself a free 30-second commercial here. So tell us what you got going on. Any asks or gives for the audience? I'll hit the easy ones. Go to whitelabelcomedy.com if you want some comedy social posts for your brand. Or if you want to try and do it yourself, check out Brands Against Mundanity. You can buy the PDF online, start playing the game for your brand, and create your own fun social memes. Anything else? What do you got?
I mean, that's a pretty good advert. I could probably stop there. Do you know what? The only other thing we've got a nice freebie for anyone that wants to just enter our world and get a little sense of what we're all about. It's called 20 Jokes That Sell, and basically it's 20 joke formats that you can imitate a little and just give you a pointer, a little sneak peek of the way we work. So that's whitelabelcomedy.com/free. Although obviously, we'd highly recommend the things that cost like $10. But for those of you that haven't got $10, whitelabelcomedy.com/free is the place to go.
you can spend as much as you want on a joke, and the funnier it will be, I feel like, on the website. So go check it out, whitelabelcomedy.com. That's Adam Hunt, creative director there and former TV producer. Adam, thanks for being on the show. Until next time, go give us a like, a thumbs up, or a share if you had fun, if you feel like somebody else needs to hear this message, or for this one, if you need to send it to your boss and be like, hey, you know those lame social media posts we've been doing? Send them this episode. Let them learn why it's important and how you can create a little more fun, flow, and fulfillment in your work, your career, and your life. If you want to find more ways to play as an adult, go check out playfulhumans.com. Take the quiz and have some fun there. Or send me an email, mike@playfulhumans.com. Suggest guests for future episodes. Here we go.
Don't wait for tomorrow.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Stand-Up Comedy, your host and MC. For information on the show, merchandise, and our sponsors, or to send comments to Scott, visit our website at www.standupyourhostandmc.com. Look for more episodes soon and enjoy the world of stand-up comedy. Visit a comedy showroom near you.